Father, I knew you would be here. I was searching for you the entire time. A melodious voice could be heard with rapid footsteps. A clear garden with one tree and tombstone right under it. Enjoying the bright sun, next to the tombstone was an old man seemingly mixed into the nature around him, undisturbed. The scene looked like something right out of a beautiful painting. No one would dare disturb the peaceful moment except the beautiful young lady running towards him. With long brown hair and big captivating eyes, she looked like a goddess who could trample kingdoms even though she wore a very plain and simple dress. No one would believe she was in her late 20s if they saw her. As she got closer to the tree and the man who sat under it, she noticed him still in a daze. She silently went next to him and waved her hand, making another chair appear out of thin air before gently placing it down and sitting on it. She looked at the tombstone before her in a daze and snapped out of it only after a while, slowly wiping off the tears building up in her eyes, and turned towards the old man sitting next to her who she called father. The man looked very simple despite his long gray hair which was tied up or his otherworldly handsome facial features which could justify his daughter's looks. He continued to look into the distance despite his daughter's appearance. As the wind continued to blow, both of them were completely silent. "Tell me, little princess, why have you come here to see your old man? Are you missing me?" Slowly turning towards his daughter who was still looking at him. He had a small smile as he looked at her. "Ah, father, my training for today is done, so I came here to see you. How are you, father?" Snapping out of her daze, she finally replied to his question with a smile. As you can see, princess, I am living peacefully in this place without any disturbance and am planning to do so for the remainder of my life." Looking at the tombstone in front of them. "You tell me how your magic training is going so far. With your innate talent, I am sure you will be the strongest in our family's lineage." Facing her. Hearing her father's question, she immediately stood up. Stretching out her hand, she closed her eyes before a small ball of bone-chilling ice formed. She finally released it in the air. As soon as she did, the small ball of ice raced to the sky at a speed that normal people would not be able to follow. The old man lifted his eyes and saw the ball going up before finally releasing the power inside it. As the ball blasted, the temperature dropped a few degrees as small bits of ice fell. Seeing her father observing her power, she felt very proud of herself as she had a proud look waiting for praise like a small girl. The old man sat down on his chair after the magic released got dispersed and said, "Not bad." Hearing his words, all her anticipation vanished as she fell down on her chair like a deflated balloon. Seeing his daughter's reaction, he smiled and said, "Little princess, don't be so down. You are already stronger than most of our generals in the army. If you continue, you might be stronger than the great generals in a few years." Hearing his comment, she regained a portion of her confidence and asked with a pout on her face, "Then why?" She wanted to know why her father couldn't give a better comment if she was that good as he says. "Ha ha ha, don't pout, little princess. What I said is true." Patting her head. He turned towards the tombstone and continued, "But when I test your strength of innate talent, I compare you with your mother. She was on a league of her own even when she was your age, even though her innate talent was lower. That is why the comment." Hearing his reason, she also turned towards the tombstone with a sad smile. On the tombstone was the name Zen Quinn. Royal mother was an unyielding warrior father. That is true. She was the most hard-working person I ever saw, and all her hard work paid off when she obtained the royal throne and led our kingdom to its strongest era, making it the strongest in the whole planet. With a nostalgic look on his face and a small smile. The tombstone in front of them carried the body of his wife and the royal queen of the mighty Zen kingdom, Zen Quinn. He was the royal king of the previous generation, Zen Suot. "Father, why don't you come back to the imperial palace? Brothers are eagerly waiting for you to come back. The first brother will also make a place similar to this in our palace. Father, please come back," she pleaded. They knew their father was at his end and wanted him to come back to the imperial palace so they could take care of him better. The eldest son, now king, also pleaded similarly, wanting him to come back. All of them didn't want to lose him like their mother. Zen Suot did not reply and continued to look at his wife's tombstone, thinking about the past. He knew his children's thoughts and knew how lucky he was to have them at times where old people are generally abandoned by their kids. But he didn't want to go back to that place. He shook his head and said, "No, little princess. The only connection between me and that place was your mother. With her gone, leaving me all alone in this world, I don't see a need to stay there. After her death, the only duty I had left was placing a better ruler after your mother. Luckily your elder brother took after her more than I thought and could take over." After a brief moment of silence, he turned towards the garden and continued, "This place is rather very special for your mother and I. We used to come here to stay away from the duties of the palace and promised each other to stay here after one of you took over. But she instead left me all alone and died." Hearing him, the princess did not know what to say. "Father, do you regret marrying mother?" Facing her sudden question, Zen Suot remained silent. His marriage with Quinn was rather very unique. He was a normal young and handsome youth who loved to act. His biggest dream as an orphan was to perform a drama and in front of the royal family with his group. After performing in many places, they got fame and a chance to perform in front of the whole royal family. That was the first time he saw his future wife Zen Quinn. She still had her practice armor on her and was sweating from all the practice she just did, making her looks not up to royal standard. She was the sole heir to the throne as the then queen caught a disease after their first daughter. This made Quinn work very hard to meet the expectations of the kingdom. Quinn did not have the best looks, but she had an aura, unlike other beauties he had seen. But at that time Zen Suot never had things like this in his eyes. He was only looking forward to acting and wanted to do the same for the rest of his life. After having a grand performance of their famous drama, they even had the chance to eat lunch with the royal family. At that time Zen Suot fulfilled his lifelong goal and wanted to lay back and continue acting around the kingdom. But it all changed when he got called to the palace alone the next day and was asked to marry Zen Quinn. Facing the king, Zen Suot couldn't say no and accepted the proposal. After that day he never got the chance to act once again in his entire life, making him hate Zen Quinn to the core. But as time flowed and he saw the woman who wanted to marry him was like any other person facing her own problems and wanted her special person there for her to lean on. But by the time he wanted to make everything right, his wife passed away. He could still remember the last sentence his wife said before she passed away, "Husband, I am sorry to be the reason you could not live your life how you would have liked to. But I don't regret my decision to marry you and would be happy to be your wife once again in my next life." She died due to the accumulation of injuries and strain of wars over a long period of time. It has already been over 15 years since she passed away. but he still hears her words every day, drowning him in grief. Father, I am sure mother doesn't blame you for anything that happened. If she sees you far away like this, I'm sure she would feel sad. He shook his head and asked, little princess, let us not talk about it anymore. Tell me what you plan to do today afterwards. Seeing as to how he wasn't willing to continue the topic, she quickly changed and answered with a smile, Father, I am going to attend a new drama which became very famous recently. Do you also want to come with me? Acting like a baby at the end. He shook his head and said, no, little princess. You continue with your work then. I'll continue to take rest. Leaning back on the chair. New striz at n/vel/b/i/n.co. Nodding her head, she stood up and excused herself. As she was walking out of the house, she heard a familiar voice, Princess, remember to live a life for yourself, not for others. Or else life will be full of regrets. Hope you have a happy life. She nodded with a smile before continuing forward. Meanwhile, Zenso looked up towards the dark clouds and said, Princess, hope you don't live like your father. My time has come and I am moving forward to meet your mother. Closing his eyes only to never open them again. The previous generation king of the mighty Zen kingdom passed away. Ah, such a small role. I hardly have half a page full of dialogues. This is also the last examination of the year. I need to try and get some recognition from the teachers during the drama. But how? God damn it. A young man in his early 20s could hold the anger in and threw the paper in his hand. As he did, he couldn't help but suddenly clutch his chest from intense pain and fall to his knees while gasping for air. Falling on the ground, he gripped his chest tighter as his face went pale. K, I'm dying like this at the end. Not achieving anything in this shithole called Earth. Cursing on his last breath. Kim Jun-won died in his flat, due to a cardiac arrest from rage. From the now body came out a transparent soul. It was Jun-won. He desperately tried to stretch out his transparent hand towards the body, but before he could touch it, the soul got dragged away. As one soul got dragged away, leaving a cold body on the floor of a single bedroom rented room, a few minutes later another white soul was gently placed into it. As the soul was integrating into the body, a small golden wisp brushed into the head, burying itself deep inside. The pale face finally turned rosy, signifying that the body was still living. The hand holding the script clenched tightly, crumbling the paper as the eyes fluttered as slowly opened. Visit N0VL/B-I-N. For the best novel reading experience. Ugh, where am I? I should be dead by now. Is this heaven? I should look for Quinn if it is. A hoarse voice filled the silent house. It was Zenso, the king, who died and hoped to reunite with his wife in the afterlife. Slowly rubbing both the eyes, which were unclear and hazy, he finally got a good look at what he thought was heaven. I thought heaven was above clouds and had a blue sky. But why is the sky brown in color? I am in a special room and yet to go to heaven. Pondering over the brown ceiling, he saw. Wait, what is this pain? Ugh. His hands immediately left the script in his hand before clutching his head tightly. He felt pain from a rush of information streaming inside his head. Wait, what? This isn't the Zen kingdom? I am not Zenso. I wasn't a king. What are these new memories? Why does it seem like I am forgetting an important part of my life? Clutching his head tighter, he murmured fearfully. Host memories going haywire. Initializing temporary protocol and keep mild restrictions for smooth flow of memories while maintaining the old ones. A small robotic sound resounded in his head, but Zenso was panic-stricken to care about it. Beep. Beep. Stable network established for the flow of memories. Shutting down till host fulfills necessary conditions for full activation. I am Zenso. Not someone else. Oh god, almost forgot who I was immediately after I died. But where am I? Wait, why do I slowly remember being someone else? These aren't my memories. A kid named Kim Jun-won. But why do I know his name and memories? Slowly releasing the tight hold he had on his hair. Taking a deep breath, closed his eyes and quickly calmed himself in the strange situation he was in, showing his self-control and the skills he picked up while being a king. Slowly, arranging his thoughts, Zhensu analyzed his situation. I somehow died, yet I got reborn in another world. Inside another body? I have never even heard of such a thing even back in the kingdom. According to the memories, I am inside a 20-year-old kid named Kim Jun-won. What a strange name. Finally opening his eyes. I'm not in heaven, not hell. I'm alive again. Poor guy died very young, giving me this opportunity. Pulling himself up while still sitting on the ground, he looked around trying to analyze his surroundings. Seeing the medium-sized television, his mouth went open. What is this strange thing? Even as a king, I never saw this. Wait, this is called a television? T.V? Wish, and according to how I remember, we can see motion pictures in it. Feeling curious at the new technology in front of him, he slowly understood what television was from Kim Jun-won's memories. Looking around on the ground, he finally found the remote and took it into his hands. To turn this thing, T.V on, I need to use this. Yeah, this button should be it. Finding the right button, he turned it on. As soon as he did, the T.V turned on and his eyes went wide. He could see people talking about the stuff inside and couldn't utter a single word from the pure shock he was in. Whoa, this is revolutionary. Such amazing things exist in this world. Even the magic we could use doesn't compare to this. To even think of such a thing and make it, the human brains are much more complex here compared to back home. Finally reacting to it. He slowly stood up and made his way towards the T.V screen before touching it. He immediately pulled it back due to the static while looking at it warily. A couple of seconds passed by before he reached out his hand once again, and this time it was fine. Strange, so this T.V uses electricity? Like the rare thunder element back in the kingdom. But this is a very minor scale usage to run this device compared to those destructive spells. Murmuring to himself. This object is really awesome. I wish I can take this back to the kingdom. But, sigh, I'm already dead. I wonder how little princess is keeping up. Getting nostalgic at the end. Removing the hand from the T.V after a few more minutes of watching the news program running, he finally looked around to get a good look at the place he was in. Noticing the T.V, he forgot everything else around him, only now did he get a clear view of everything. He first noticed the small sofa enough for 2 people to sit comfortably right opposite to him. He continued to look around and saw many new gadgets he never saw as he slowly recollected all of their names and uses from Kim Jun-won's memories. Discover EU chapters at novelby.co. The house was very simple, 1 bedroom, 1 small living room with an equally small kitchen. The bedroom was just enough for a single bed and a wardrobe. The door led the people right into the living room and the kitchen was to the immediate right while the room was at the right top corner of the living room. From a royal palace spanning vastly across the land to a small place which is only a few feet around the whole house. I used to use horses to move around the royal garden. But now, sighing to himself after completely analyzing the layout of the house. But this isn't bad either, my own small adobe without anyone disturbing me too much. I guess every place has its own plus points too. Just need to find and accept them wholeheartedly. Cheering himself as he stood in the living room. He walked towards the small balcony at the end of the living room before opening the door. As he did, he suddenly coughed and closed the door. Looking outside there wasn't anything to make him cough but Zensu thought otherwise. Oh my god. The air is so impure. It is comparing a beautiful flower to cow dung. I guess my old world is way better in at least one aspect compared to this world. I need to get used to this. Calming himself for a second he couldn't help but lament about the amount of impurities he felt due to the sudden change in environment. He opened the door once again and slowly took a few breaths to get used to the environment. Opening his eyes he looked out and saw the various buildings all around on the streets. He couldn't help but marvel at everything he saw as Kim Jun-won memories slowly filled in the doubts he got seeing them. He looked down and saw numerous people walking by. But soon his eyes caught a car on the street and they instantly sparkled. This car is way better compared to the horses we use back at home. They are more efficient but seems like it has a huge disadvantage to it. Remembering that one of the main reasons for the impurities come from the vehicles he couldn't help but sigh once again, showing his old mentality in full display. Seems like my new world has so many things I'm yet to personally experience. This is indeed so much interesting compared to sitting on that large throne only to speak a few words when necessary and listen to endless praises. The world has so much yet to reveal and humans can discover so much more. A world without magic, hope you don't disappoint me. With a smile on his face as he continued to observe the outside world for a few more minutes. He went back inside after having his fill of the new world outside. Closing the door, Zensu went right into the washroom and stood before the mirror to finally look at his new face. Ha ha ha, seems like I don't get the only thing I was proud of in my old life, my looks. I look so plain compared to my old self. He couldn't help but wryly laugh as he lamented his bad look. Compared to the silky golden hair, good looks, and chiseled body, his current look or rather Kim Jun-won's looks were very plain. Rather rough black hair with an above average face. The only aspect which stood out was the eyes. The eyes were very mesmerizing enough to capture people's attention distracting it from his average face. What, this is considered above average in this world? This world has such low standards. A few of my royal guards look better than this. This body is also too skinny. Did this kid even eat 3 times a day before he died? Now that I took over this body things need to change. Even though I can't do anything about this face, the hair needs to be treated better, the body needs to gain weight. He felt shocked as he remembered a few more of Kim Jun-won's memories about his looks. He immediately started to decide the next steps he needed to take to get better. He looked straight into his reflection and said to himself, from this moment on Zensu is dead. I am Kim Jun-won. Not a king but rather a student who studies how to act. How convenient is it that I came into a student who also wants to become an actor. I should take good care of this opportunity given to me. Making it resolute. He got a new life and wanted to make the best out of it. He needed to stop comparing this world to his old one and live normally in the present. Making his thoughts clear, he came back into the living room only to hear his stomach grumble because of hunger. Looks like this guy did not even eat anything for breakfast yet. Let's see if I can get anything to eat from what is in the kitchen. Shaking his head he made his way into the kitchen. As Jun-won stepped into the small kitchen, his feet froze and lips twitched. He was greeted with a disaster. It looked like the kitchen had been turned rather into a garbage dump. Used utensils from almost a week were dumped into the sink while giving out a nasty smell. There were various plastic wrappers, empty noodles cups stuffed into the small trash can. Jun-won couldn't help but hold his mouth as he stopped himself from gagging before quickly returning to the living room and opening the balcony door for some fresh air. Oh god. That was a monstrosity. This guy has been living like a savage animal. No scope for hygiene at all. Even I didn't live like this before I married Quinn and became the king. This guy left a disaster for me to clean up. Even though he was never a clean freak in his previous life, he was used to the neatness maintained back at the palace. Seeing this made him think of how much he has yet to still adapt to the various living conditions even though he received memories about the world. This going to be harder than fighting a war. Sighing to himself. He went inside the living room before grabbing the handkerchief on the coffee table and tied it around his mouth and nose as a makeshift mask. I hope this helps at least a bit or I might die on the same day I got reborn in the middle of a bunch of trash. He bravely walked inside the kitchen once again. Now this is better, at least I don't feel like gagging immediately. Let's start with the utensils in the sink first then the trash feeling relieved he thought and made his way towards the sink at the far right beside the small refrigerator through all the trash in the middle. Standing in front of the sink he saw something which made him gag once again, insects running through utensils. Oh god, it has been almost a whole week that the small insects were confident to roam around freely. Seems like this guy maintains a repellent somewhere around here. Looking at the small cupboards on the top of the sink. He slowly opened them and found a can of repellent. Taking a deep breath he sprayed the repellent all over the utensils and the magic happened in seconds. All types of insects poured out, struggling before dying. After a whole minute when it felt like there were no more, he turned on the water and slowly reached out for some soap and brush before starting to clean up all of the utensils at least 2 times. It took him a whole hour before he cleaned up all the utensils and placing them back inside the cupboards where they belong. He turned around and looked at the trash over the floor before starting his work by taking out a larger trash bag and placing them all inside. Spending another 30 minutes on trash he placed it near the main door. Seems like we are responsible to take the trash down and drop it inside the bin outside the apartment. I'll do this later. Then he went back into the kitchen before taking out the mop and cleaning the floor free of stains. After completing everything, he looked at the clean kitchen before taking out the handkerchief and nodding to himself. If anyone saw him doing all these, no one would believe he was the king of the strongest kingdom on a planet. EUW ovals up tes on no/l/b.com. Finally completed. Ugh, I forgot my hunger while cleaning this mess. Now it came back at double the strength. Looks like it's already noon. Now I still need to cook lunch. Sigh. Clutching his stomach, he grumbled. He made his way towards the refrigerator and opened it to see what he could use to make some lunch for himself. After opening it, he couldn't help but sigh in relief. There were a few ingredients to work with. Taking them out one by one, he spread them across the kitchen platform and started to think about what he wanted to eat. It didn't take him long to decide and start preparing some curry with plain rice. Taking out a rice packet from a cupboard, he rinsed the rice and placed it inside a rice cooker. Sigh, this world is indeed much better. Even cooking rice is made easier here. He continued and quickly made himself some curry with the vegetables he could find before the rice cooker gave out a signal. Taking out a plate, he scooped some rice and curry before taking a seat on the couch. Finally, after a hectic start in this new life, I can finally eat some food. I have enough for even nighttime, so I should be fine. Well, it's been so long since I cooked my own meal. Hope I didn't lose the touch. Exclaiming, he took a spoonful and shoved it right inside his mouth. Seems like it's not only the air around here, even the food grown isn't that natural, or rather without elements of impurities. Sigh, the people of this world are blinded by the urge to develop and forgot the planet itself. As he continued to eat. Finishing up the whole plate of food, he washed all the dishes and sat on the couch once again. As he stretched his back, thinking what he should do, at the corner of his eye he saw the crumbled script on the ground and grabbed it. This paper was in my hand when I came to this body. What was this guy reading before he died? Pulling the paper closer, he finally get a good look at the contents. Ah, it's a script. Let's see how it compared to the ones I wrote back then. Hope we don't lose out in this aspect. Feeling interested, he slowly read the script in his hands. The script Kim Jun-won had wasn't the complete drama script, rather it was only his part of the drama. As he read, the anticipation and smile on his face faded away as a small frown formed on his face. No wonder that guy died due to anger. This is really sh**t, even the role this guy got is literally only one whole page, not even a whole paper worth of dialogues. Such a small role. He couldn't help but lean back on the couch as he threw the paper to the side and closed his eyes. He remembered the reason the owner of the body died. It was this script. The role was so small that he didn't have dialogues. He didn't get to know what the entire script was about but had some guess. Based on what his role was, it was situated in a school and was also a romance-orientated drama. I felt happy about acting once again, and this is what I get after coming here. He opened his eyes and sighed. Well, now that most of the things here are done, let's explore the outside world and see how advanced everything here is then. He sprung up from the couch as his eyes were filled with anticipation. He wanted to know more about this world, and going out was the best way he could do that. He grabbed the keys to the main door and made his way out. But as he did, he noticed a mask hanging on a hook beside the door. Grabbing it, he wore it and made his way out, locking the door. There were only 5 similar houses for every floor in the 3 floors apartment. His house was on the 2nd floor, so Kim Jun-won made his way down the hallway and then the stairs. Reaching the ground floor, he walked out and saw the bustling streets. The streets, people, and the vehicles were a lot to take in for him, and only snapped out of it after a whole minute. He looked to his left and right before stretching out his finger. He felt the wind blow to the right and decided to go to the right. As he walked down the street, he saw different kinds of shops, graffiti painted on walls, people riding on the skateboard, and many more. He was so marveled by everything around him that he didn't want to close his eyes, scared that he might miss something. If anyone from his old world would see their calm, collected and old king like this, they would stab themselves in the heart rather than believe their eyes. As Kim Jun-won slowly walked through the streets, he suddenly stopped. His eyes were on a billboard which was flashing very brightly with a picture of a couple on it and a title next to it. It was a movie advertisement. Explore Todd TE stories at no/l/bin.cm. So, that's a new movie. It seems to have released a few days ago. Let's see what these movies are. If I can remember, a movie theater should be around that corner. He was excited to see something new. He only knew dramas, but as he saw that billboard, he remembered the experience of seeing movies of the original Kim Jun-won and wanted to try out. Slowly walking towards the theater as he remembered, he finally reached it. Standing before the large theater, he felt excitement. This was going to be his first exposure to this world's mainline drama, or rather movies as they called them. He noticed that the theater was about to play its noon show of the movie billboard he saw on his way and walked towards the counter. "1 ticket for my love, please." With a polite smile to the lady behind the counter, while taking out his purse. Paying the money, he got the ticket and made his way inside with excitement. Going to the respective screen, he already noticed that the movie had started, and so he quietly made his way to his seat. As he sat, he quickly noticed something very strange. Everyone around him, or probably everyone in the entire theater, were couples. But that thought only lasted a minute as his eyes were glued to the screen. He didn't turn his head even for a single second as he continued to watch the movie in isolation. He didn't hear the constant murmuring from the couples all around him and was fixed to the screen. The lights got back on after 2 complete hours. All the couples and other people around him slowly got up one by one, exiting the screen, but he remained there motionless. His eyes were still on the large blank screen in front. He snapped out when a worker gently shook him, telling him that the movie was already done and it was time for him to go out. Slowly nodding, he quietly exited the theater and stood in the busy streets once again. Stretching his stiff neck, he sat on the nearby bench right in front of the theater before sliding his eyes, cutting off all the noises from the busy streets, immersed in his own thoughts. Movies are really awesome, he murmured with a slight smile, looking at the floating clouds. It's way better than dramas. The viewers have so much better now experience, and it also looks better than a drama. One mishap on a live drama by an actor can destroy the whole performance, but movie? They can reshoot the same thing from different angles until they are completely satisfied. Such high-level performance. He continued to murmur to himself while closing his eyes on the bench, ignoring everything around him. After a few more minutes he slowly stood up and noticed it was already 4. Keeping both his hands inside his pockets, he walked back home. As he walked all his thoughts were still on the movie he watched. He thought the movie was not that good but was also not that bad. It was a one-time watcher. What interested him was the way the movie was taken. Dramas could only be seen from one angle and everything depends on the actors. But in movies, the actors did at most only 60% of the total work. Even if an actor was bad at acting, the movie crew could use other means to make it look good, and this fascinated him. It didn't take him long to reach his apartment. He quickly got inside, removed the mask and hung it at the same spot as before. He got himself a quick glass of water before sitting on the couch. From the memories of that guy, we can watch movies even on T.V, using internet. Let's try it out. I want to watch some of the famous ones rather than the small one I just saw. He quickly turned on the T.V before slowly connecting it to the internet in the house. It took him quite some time before he got it right. As he did, he exhaled in relief and quickly watched the most popular movie which came out a few years back called Dominator. It was the most widely acknowledged best movie of the country by the media and public. Find new stories on nov/el-bin.com. Setting up everything right, he started the movie. The movie was about a fight between an alien who stumbled upon the planet and tried to overtake it with its massive power. The hero would then defeat it after a long fight. But what made the story good was the journey the hero went through to gain power enough to defeat the alien and die, sacrificing himself. Kim Jun-won was very impressed by this film. Compared to the movie he saw before, this film was better by a very long distance. Whether it came to the effects used or the storyline or even the acting involved. The hero, Dongbang-jae, is really a master at acting. Way better than even me. Seems like there are people who can act like this. There is so much that even I am yet to improve. It seems like this guy is also called as the Heavenly King of the previous generation. He retired last year from acting. Remembering a few more things about the hero. Zenso was never arrogant and could accept his weakness before trying to improve further on it. That was one of the reasons he became a good king. Seeing that Dongbang-jae was better than him in that film, he only wanted to improve his own skills to surpass that level. Seems like Heavenly King is rather a rank given to the most successful and famous actor of every generation. All of them seem like great actors. In this generation it seems like there are only 3 of such people. I'll prove myself to be the 4th. With a slight smirk on his face. He finally made his first large goal after coming into this world. Goals were important to become successful as it gives him a clear goal. He decided on his ultimate goal long ago. It was to be the most famous actor in this world. Compared to his past life goal, which was performing for the royal family, he decided to go bigger. Becoming a Heavenly King was only a checkpoint to his goal because Heavenly Kings were only famous within the country he was currently living. Out there were other actors in bigger countries. Well, it's already 7. Let's finish dinner quickly and watch another good movie before sleeping. It seems like I need to go school tomorrow. A school for art? This is going to be interesting. My first time to a school in both my lives. Standing up, he went into the kitchen and scoped up the rest of the food into a plate before sitting on the couch once again. Zenso never went to a proper school even back in his old world. Being an orphan and poor, he couldn't afford such a luxury and had to work every day before acting to get some food inside his body. The first thing he did after becoming a king was to open free schools to poor people. It was one of the reasons people loved him the most. He never thought he would have a chance to go to a school like a normal person. Now that he got the chance, he wanted to experience it properly. After finishing the leftover food from lunch, he cleaned up the dishes and sat on the couch with the remote in his hand once again, trying to find more good movies from his memories to watch. As he found his phone vibrating in his pocket. Taking it out, he finally saw the most used device by humans in the modern era. Why is it vibrating? Wait, someone is calling? Dad. Seeing the name and picture on the call, he felt confused. Seeing the contact on the call, his hands became sweaty. He couldn't pick up the call and respond. He could be found out. But if he doesn't lift, then it would create more suspicions. Parents are probably the only people in this world who could easily identify their children's problems without words. Even though he was in Kim Jun-won's body and sounded like him, he was still essentially not him. He never had a parent in his old life. Now he needed to speak with the father of the dead person who he took over. He slowly closed his eyes and remembered everything he could from the original Kim Jun-won's memories. Kim Min-sok was his name. He was a simple man who supported his children with everything he has. That is also the reason he sent Kim Jun-won to a drama school and chase his dream even though his salary wasn't much. Zensu approved such a man who cared and loved his children and was willing to do anything for them. Such a man deserved respect. The more he went through Jun-won's memories, he understood more his family. After a few more seconds, he finally took a deep breath and clicked on the answer button like an ape using technology. Ah, Jun-won, what are you doing? Why did it take you so long to lift the phone? Are you out partying again? I'm telling you now, you better. Be careful, it's different in the big cities, unlike our small town. Jun-won, are you listening? Oi. Min-sok's voice blasted through the speaker. He fired questions at him without any break. Read the latest stories and novelbin.com. Jun-won couldn't help but smile a little as he heard the rough voice from the other side. He could hear the concern in the man's voice only because he lifted the phone a bit late. As an orphan, he couldn't help but feel good. Turning the speaker off, he kept the phone against his ear and slowly said, I'm fine, Dad. I was eating just now and my phone was inside the bedroom. How are you? As he finished, silence filled the room. Mom-sok did not reply and Jun-won was waiting for a reply. After a few seconds, Jun-won couldn't help but ask, Dad, are you still there? Can you hear me? I'm asking how are you? With some concern. Unknowingly, his personality and thoughts slowly started to merge with that of the old Jun-won as he showed concern towards a stranger but felt familiar with him. Ah, no, I was rather surprised by your question. Are you okay, Jun-won? You don't sound well. Min-sok finally responded with even more concern. Jun-won was shocked as he heard even more concern coming from the other side. He closed his eyes once again, trying to search his memories once again and finally found an answer. The problem was him, or rather the original Junwon. He would never call his family back and was also rather avoiding them after coming to the city to study. This was all due to the sudden change in the culture he experienced after coming here. This all explained the sudden concern Min-seok showed when he asked him a very simple question. He couldn't help but shake his head at how immature the original Junwon was. The family was the base for everything a man can achieve in his life. If it wasn't for his hard-working father, he would never have come to a big city to study something like acting. Do you have a fever? Is it exhaustion? Do you have body pains? These are all the symptoms of the disease a few years back. Many people got it then. Even though you got vaccinated, you still need to be very careful with this. Should I come over there? Better, why don't you come over? He continued to show concern. If it was anyone else, they would have been irritated, but Zenso didn't think so, as a small smile was on his face. No, Dad. I'm okay, it's not that disease or anything like that. I am perfectly fine. Don't react so violently for only a small change like this. There will be many more in the future. I just thought it was a time to change how things were going after I came here. So tell me, how are you doing there? Ha 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 ha, yes, everything is well now that you made a very good decision in your life. I'm very happy that you are finally taking the right paths. I can finally sleep well tonight. He laughed so loud that Junwon moved the phone away from his ears. But he had a smile on his face when he heard him laugh. Yes, Dae. Everything is going to be well. So are everything well over there? I just answered your question, have you gone deaf? Don't worry too much about us. I and your sister both are well. Just now she went into her room to study for her exams too. Do you want to talk with her? No, it's okay. Let her study. She is already in high school now. It's important for her to study. Alright then, Dad, go and sleep. You have work tomorrow, don't you? Yes, you should also sleep early. You have classes again tomorrow. Your final exam of the year is also coming soon, isn't it? Study well. He didn't forget to remind Junwon before finally cutting the call. Placing the phone to the side, he leaned back before taking a deep breath and exhaling in relief. His heart was full of warmth when he talked with Min-seok just now, and he loved that feeling. My father. In this life, even though you didn't give birth to me, I will take care of you as my own. He murmured his thoughts out as the idea cemented in his mind. After making a promise to himself to take care of Min-seok as his father, better than his original son, his gaze landed on the script. I shouldn't let that man down too much and waste time like this. Even though I only talked to him for a few minutes, it feels like I know him for a long time. It seems like I'm slowly getting influenced by the original Kim Junwon's memories. But this kind of influence is not that bad. Let's prepare for this exam then. It seems like this is the last exam of the year, and the results matter. It should be this weekend, too. He reorganized his thoughts while noticing the slight influence on his mentality. Grabbing the paper once again, he stood up. He had a closer look at the script and his role compared to before. The role was simply tiny. His role was of a jealous teenager who snitches on the protagonists for being lovers in a school which prohibits such things. He snitched because he hated the hero's handsomeness. Junwon stood there in silence. He couldn't help but exhale and understood why the old Junwon died in frustration after reading this. Most of his part was a narration by the narrator, as they were inner thoughts of jealousy, and his dialogues were mainly with the teacher character when he snitched on the protagonist's love. Even though I am not as handsome as the old me, it's not that bad that I have to play the role of this jealous teenager. I should probably really try and give this director and the person who chose the roles a piece of my mind if I meet them tomorrow. Well, now that I decided, let's practice these lines. Scratching the back of his head, he closed his eyes, trying to envision how a jealous teenager would generally be. He wasn't a teenager, and instantly becoming a jealous teenager would be tough. Thinking about it several minutes, he slowly thought about all the noble family sons in his past life and their faces whenever they saw him besides his wife. This gave him something better to play with, and he slowly understood the teenager's thoughts before opening his eyes and thinking about a handsome man, and all he could think of was his past looks. Getting the mood set, he slowly practiced a few expressions he could come up with and then the dialogues imagining the teacher. All of it looked comical with no one around. After a few more minutes of practice, he finally sat down on the couch, placing the paper aside before running his hand through his hair. It's been a while since I acted, but it seems like I am still way off what I used to be. Everything seems a bit new after a few decades. I need to use this chance to get into my rhythm so that I can try acting. It looks like I need to audition for roles in this world. I'll try one after this exam drama and see how it goes. He stood up and made his way towards the bathroom once again to take a nice bath. Taking a refreshing bath, he wore some fresh clothes he found in the drawer and went into the kitchen for some food. Taking out the food he cooked for lunch from the fridge, he ate a quick meal, washed the dishes, and sat on the couch. I need to get this body into shape if I want some nice roles. Even though my looks are only above average, if I can get some muscles in shape, I can catch more eyes in those auditions I can try out. This exam should be this kid's final exam for the first year and is at the end of this week. After that, it's summer holidays for 2 months until his second year courses start. I should try and get good grades with this small role I got offered. Going through his memories, he figured out the present situation of Kim Junwon University. Those 2 months should be very useful for me to try out different auditions. This city should be famous for having many agencies and auditions. Maybe I will be lucky and get a role in a movie within these 2 months. Arios City, the most famous city within the country after the capital. It is also known as the nation's entertainment capital, and this is because many famous artists, actors, and other people who work in similar industries live here. This is also why it houses the renowned drama university Kim Junwon attends, called Arios Drama University, renamed after the city itself. It's been a complete year since this kid came to this so-called entertainment capital, and he has done nothing to improve his skills. He was completely changed by the things here and didn't have the initial enthusiasm, only wasting his parents' money. Well, it looks like I can't be too greedy and work with what I got, I guess. He took out his phone and opened the gallery app as he remembered something. Kim Junwon practiced a bit the last few days for the final exam and used to record videos for analysis. He slowly went through them all before deleting all of them. This guy is too mediocre. No wonder he didn't get a bigger role. His acting is so plain, and all his expressions couldn't be more fake. Him getting this role was like destiny, and he probably only has himself to blame. He sighed to himself. Find you chapters on nve/lbi.com. Noticing it was already very late, he stood up, turned off the lights, and went into the room before falling asleep. He twisted and turned around for a long time before falling asleep. Waking up the next day and eating a quick bowl of cereal, Junwon grabbed the bag beside the couch and made his way out. This time he didn't forget to take the huge trash cover he kept aside after cleaning the whole place yesterday out. They needed to throw the trash in the huge bins in the alleyway next to the building. Closing the door, Junwon took the huge black trash bag down the stairs and out the building. Before turning to the side and going into the alleyway, he noticed the huge garbage dumpster and threw it inside. Completing the work, he finally patted his hands once and then started walking towards university. Even though he was a very old man on the inside, he couldn't help but smile at the thought of going to university. He never went to any kind of educational institute in his previous life, as he mostly had to work to fill his stomach daily. But now he could go to a proper university, and it was mainly for something he loved, acting. Following the memories, he stopped in front of a huge gate with students going in from all directions. He could see the enormous sign hanging on top of the gate, Arios Drama University. He slowly recollected the memories about the campus and the way to his class from old Junwon, before stepping into the campus. But as he did, he felt a sharp pain from his back, making him hiss while he heard a woman's voice by the side. Junwon, why are you walking like this as your first day at the university? Come on, it's time for class. Let's go, quick, urging him. He finally turned to the side and saw a young girl with a smile on her face. Dark brown, straight hair which flowed until her waist, with big black eyes which looked very cute. Her overall appearance gave out a cheerful and cozy vibe, making people comfortable. Her name was CH01-10. Luckily he searched up most of the memories about the old Junwon's university life and could quickly recognize the cheerful girl who slapped his back suddenly. The old Junwon knew this girl pretty well and were on friendly terms. That was because both of them came from the same town and were also in the same high school. But both never talked to each other until recognizing each other in the university. CH01 was the complete opposite of the old Kim Junwon. After going through the memories, he knew what kind of girl she was and had a good first impression of her. Unlike the old Kim Junwon, she did not change after coming into the big city and continued to work towards the reason she came to the university, and that was to get better at acting. Younghwa, I was on my way to class. Why hit so hard, trying to act as closely as the old Junwon? He did not want to raise any doubts by acting weirdly. Younghwa stopped when she heard him and looked at him up and down, while slowly rubbing her chin as if she was wondering about something very important. Something is really weird about you today. I can't seem to put a finger on what that is. He could only rub the back of his head, feeling worried inside at this woman's crazy instincts, and could only reply, it's all in your head. Don't think too much about unnecessary stuff. How was your weekend? Changing the subject. Luckily it was very easy to distract her as she replied while they continued to walk towards their block in the enormous campus. Yeah, the weekend was nice. I was in the dorm the whole day, trying to get some extra sleep and relaxation. What did you do? Younghwa stayed in the university dorms unlike Junwon, who took a room outside so that she could save some extra money for her parents. Junwon could only sigh at the past before replying, I did little as well. I saw a few movies online, then went to a theater for a movie as well. It was nice to relax a little. I also practiced for the exam coming this weekend. Hearing his last sentence, she became a bit shocked as she once again looked up and down before murmuring, something is really odd about you today, Junwon. Do you even practice on the weekend? That is rather really surprising. Even regularly I have to be behind you like a tail to make you practice at least a little. Come on, don't be like that. It's the final exams, and doesn't the score really matter for the next year's placements? So, of course, I need to practice at least in the final stretch of the year. He shrugged at her suspicion. If he tried to hide it more, it would only make her more suspicious, so being more open was a better route for him to take. E80 new chapters on no/v/e/ln.com. Well, what you say is true. Based on these results, some people might get shifted to the star batch next year. Just imagine, the star batch is much better than the one we are in now. Transfer. He felt confused because he couldn't remember much about this so-called transfer. Did you not listen to what the teacher said last month when he told us about our final exam? He specifically said that we are going to be strictly evaluated on our performance, and if anyone does well, we might get the chance to replace anyone from the star batch. Come on, Junwon, this is an important matter. You should pay more attention to the classes. The star batch, huh? Looks like you want to get into that batch. He simply stated the obvious. Star batch was a fancy way of saying class for students who are rich. This was how Kim Junwon understood after going through the memories. It was a class filled with people who were rich, having the best facilities and teachers. Most of the people in that class used connections to get roles in movies, making the batch seem special. The star batch also had the best teachers assigned to them. They were all veteran actors who stopped and would mainly share their experiences and versions of acting. The teachers in the normal classes were at most only B-class actors, while there were a few A-class actors in the star batch. These were enough for the students in the normal class to work very hard to earn a seat through chances like these. Of course I want to go to that batch. We get taught by better teachers, and the exposure we receive when we are in that batch is also way better. Wait, don't tell me you don't want to shift to that batch, she answered rather quickly and looked at him with a questioning gaze. He simply shrugged at her and replied, well, I don't really care about it that much to stress over it like you are. If I make it, I make it. If I don't, I really won't think about it too much. There really isn't much of a chance for me to get into that batch, given how small my role actually is. So no high hopes. Hearing his words made her silent as both of them continued to walk towards their class. Junwon noticed the awkward atmosphere and said, well, don't think too much about it. My skills are not that good to get a good role. Well, just work hard to get into that star batch you are aiming for. She simply nodded. Reaching the entrance, both separated as she made her way towards her group of friends, and he went to the back where he remembered the seat was. Going all the way back, he sat right next to the window. Looking outside, he saw the block entrance but couldn't care less and leaned his head on the bench before closing his eyes. Find you chapters on nve/lbi.com. Being in his own world, he snapped back as he felt a tap on his shoulder. Slowly lifting his head, he saw a brown-haired boy sitting right next to him while tapping on his phone. He easily found who the boy was as he went through the memories. His name was Mo Yang. Mo Yang was the person Junwon was closest to in the university and was also the first friend he made after coming here. As he slowly went through the memories, he got a clearer picture of the guy in front of him. Bro, did you party without me yesterday? You should have called me. Mo Yang asked as his hands were still typing on the phone. As he got a clear understanding of Mo Yang in his mind based on the memories, Junwon couldn't help but roll his eyes and reply, no, I am just tired. That's all. Not wanting to go into further conversation with the guy. Mo Yang was the biggest reason the old Junwon changed after coming to the big city. This guy used to drag the old Junwon to multiple parties every week and was the major reason Junwon went further and further away from the original reason he got into the university. Bro, do you want to come to this party today? I just received a message and there will be girls from other departments too. Maybe we can get lucky and spend the night with some of them. Mo Yang chuckled before finally looking down at Junwon while waving his phone. He couldn't help but take a deep breath while pushing himself off the desk and replying, come on, man. It's exam week. The play at the end of the week is really important and you want to go out and party? You are lucky to get a non-acting role in the play, but I at least have a minor role, so let me work on it and try to score a few points. Sounding a little pissed at how Mo Yang was trying to distract him from the exams. Unlike himself, Mo Yang did not even have a role and was part of the production crew, but never really cared much about it and always liked to party around. If it was the old Junwon, he would have agreed immediately, but it was different now and Zenso was not the same. He needed to use this chance given to him properly, and this drama was his first step. Even though he doesn't care about the marks like he just said, just acting again would give him that starting push he needs for the summer break after the exam. Alright man, chill. Don't sound so pissed off. I wanted to invite you so that you can chill and rest a bit. I can see you are putting some work into this test. Alright, I'll tell you about any party after the exams. I'm sure you will be free after that, right? As he smoothly tried to show he cared about him. But Junwon wasn't buying his stuff as he noticed the teacher walking in and said while shrugging, whatever you say, man. Be quiet now. The teacher came in. Trying to pay more attention to the middle-aged man in the class center.